Welcome to Michigan Football at the voice of college football. Michigan's spring game is in the books. We got our first look at the offense, the defense, and we may or may not have some questions answered. My name is Cliff. With me, as always, is Mac. Mac, let's talk offense. We'll start with the overall look and work through the positions. What was your impression overall of Michigan's offense?
Yeah, overall, I thought things looked pretty good. I mean, with it being a spring game, the players were kind of shifted about. So they did that whole draft type thing where they picked which players are going to be on each side. So it wasn't truly a like first stringers versus second stringers kind of thing. That makes it a little bit more difficult to see which position groups were really solid and which maybe need a little bit of help, maybe through the transfer portal or just some extra snaps through fall camp. Although from a position standpoint, I think it's a little bit easier to see which players are really excelling, which ones are meeting some expectations, answering some questions and stuff like that. So I do think we have a pretty good idea of how things shake out once Michigan hits fall practice. But overall, I thought it was pretty good.
Okay, let's take a look at the positions then, starting with the running backs. How do you think the running backs and the O line look?
Yeah, so this is actually pretty interesting to me. So the O line I understand was a little bit of a makeshift O line. Again, the players were kind of scrambled about. It wasn't first stringers versus second stringers. So that wasn't really the first or second string O line we were watching. That was an O line as determined by this draft. It was pretty clear for most of the game that it's going to be a good O line. How good they're going to be still remains in question. It's interesting because to me, coming into last year, Michigan was really saying that they wanted to be 50-50 run pass. What I saw yesterday kind of actually seemed that they were going to rely more on the pass than the run simply because of how good the defensive line looked. But that doesn't exactly mean, or that doesn't entirely mean that the running game was non-existent. Donovan Edwards specifically, he only had the 4 carries, unofficially 32 yards total. It's unofficial because they weren't actually keeping stats for the game, but there you go. Um, he looked impressive on his 4 runs. He had a couple 11-yard runs that he broke off, one of which looked like it was going to go for a touchdown. That particular run was really interesting to me. He kind of stopped at the line because the defensive end had jumped in and it looked like the O-line was going to allow Edwards to get hit behind the line. But he kind of did a Blake Corum jump to the side and then ran to the edge and got outside, outran the defense for about 11 yards, and was only at the last second that he was tackled by Jair Hill, or he might have ripped off a touchdown run there. So that was a really good sign to me because it looks like his vision is getting a lot better, and that's really exciting. But overall, I mean, Tavier Dunlap had a really good game. I think it was actually a really good sign, even though the O line needs a little bit of retooling.
I mean, Donovan Edwards is always impressive, right? That goes without saying.
Well, he was in the national championship game, that's for sure.
For sure. All right, let's take a look at the wide receivers. How do we look there?
Light, light. So Kurt Campbell and actually Freddie Moore even said after the game that they are going to be going after some wide receivers in the transfer portal. But that doesn't mean at all that they don't have some solid wide receivers in the room right now. Tyler Morris, he had the touchdown catch against Alabama in the Rose Bowl. He played really well last season. They're talking about him as wide receiver one as he was targeted early and often. That's pretty cool for him. Excited to see that. Samaj Morgan, clutch player, super fast, almost had the punt return touchdown against Iowa in the Big Ten championship game. But shout out to that player that ran him down. That was a no quit play from that guy, even though Morgan had a heck of a run there. But I think the man of the match, though, for me is Freddie Moore. Freddie Moore and Kendrick Bell both had amazing plays, but Freddie Moore broke off a 48-yard touchdown reception in the fourth quarter to push the Mays to a 10-point game. I mean, he outran everybody on the defense. It was kind of a broken play too, so he sort of had to scramble to bail out Davis Warren. Davis Warren was even scrambling, showed some mobility. That's pretty exciting as well. Kendrick Bell looks really good, even if he is pretty raw. They're saying that he's raw. They're saying that he's got some speed. He's got the potential to be better than Ronnie Bell. I think he's a little bit taller than Ronnie Bell, if I remember, but they're saying he's faster. That's pretty exciting, and he certainly looked faster than the defense on his 42-yard touchdown reception. Joshua Nichols on the coverage there. It looked like maybe Nichols had lost Bell moving into the latter part of his route there. But either way, Kendrick Bell outran him, and that's a really good sign. But they're still going to need to hit the transfer portal for some help there. Peyton O'Leary, last one here, want to call him out. He had what could have been a really cool circus catch if it weren't for, oh, I can't remember who knocked the ball out of his hands. Was it Jair Hill? I don't think it was. I can't remember who knocked the ball out of his hands, but it was like Mikey Samerstill against Cade Stover in 2022. It was a beautiful knockaway. What could have been a really awesome circus catch for Peyton O'Leary. But in any case, yeah, the room needs some fleshing out, but there's definitely talent there.
All right. Now, the question I think on everybody's mind is who's going to replace JJ McCarthy? So we know that Tuttle came back, but he is injured. So how does that QB room look? What do we got?
It's there's separation between the two better players and everybody else. So I'll kind of start. I'm not going to say from the bottom up, but from the bottom up. Jaden Davis is a freshman, and he looks like a freshman. He was the one who had the pass to Peyton O'Leary that Peyton O'Leary almost made that circus catch, excuse me. That was knocked away at the last second. Beautiful ball placement. He looked confident running the offense and stuff like that. So I'm excited to see how he develops. But he's raw. He's a freshman. That's fine. Jaden Denegal. This is the one I'm kind of. He had a couple of great plays, but it looked like he had some success early and then kind of got a little jumpy after that. He had a couple of passes, one of which was intercepted, but the interception, the guy ended up fumbling it and giving it back to the offense. And then the other one was not actually an interception; it was just knocked down. Um, those two plays aside, he looked okay. He's got some dual threat ability. He just doesn't look like he's going to be polished enough to start for Michigan this year. And it looks like the top two players have really pulled away, and he's kind of a distant third right now. I wouldn't be surprised if he transferred out. Not gonna lie. The quarterback battle to me comes down to Alex Orji and Davis Warren, and I'm gonna give Orji the start over Warren for right now. And the only reason is because of Orji's dual threat ability. He had an awesome, I think it was an 18-yard touchdown run. Either way, it was a touchdown run. It looked like it was an RPO. He had the option to pass. He tucks it because the defensive end blows up his guy on the inside. Doesn't really blow him up, but kind of pushes him out of the way. He beats his O line guy out on the inside, and Alex Orji then takes off to the outside and avoids the pressure and then is able to outrun everybody on his way to the end zone. Now, if he had been live, it looked like he probably should have been tackled around the 3 or 4 yard line. But either way, that was really good vision, really good decision making. I thought that his accuracy, he had a couple of balls, one of which was a couple of passes, one of which was a fourth down conversion to Max Bredesen. Man, he put that ball exactly where it needed to be. And there was a very tight window where he could have put it. And Max Bredesen had the hands to come down with it, which was awesome to see. And it honestly wasn't even bad coverage either. So it was just a great play. And Alex Orji had a few of those. He did sail one, missed the receiver by 5 yards on third down play, which led to a punt. But really, I think that was his only like play where I was kind of like, what are you doing? Who were you throwing at? He had early on a couple of balls that were thrown a little bit behind, but once he settled in, thought he did really well. Davis Warren, man, oh man. I mean, I understand Alex Orji probably did enough to keep his hold on the starting position, but Davis Warren is giving him a run for his money. So he moved the ball extremely well. His accuracy really seemed to be on point. He had a couple of really long touchdown passes. I mean, obviously, the one was to Freddie Moore. Freddie Moore did most of the work there, but Davis Warren had to use some mobility to get out of the pocket and keep his vision downfield and his wits about him in order to make that throw. So just really great play there. But his 42-yard touchdown pass to Kendrick Bell, that ball was in the air for all of that 42 yards, possibly even more. And he finished the game unofficial stats again, 6 of 9 for 142 yards and 2 touchdowns. That's an interesting battle. I don't think that QB1 is necessarily decided yet, even if Orgy does have the advantage.
Yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting battle to see who does end up in that starting position. I would like to see Alex Orji, but we'll see what happens.
Feel like he's earned it, but he's got
Yep,
to continue earning it.
right. That's our snapshot for the spring game, at least for the offense. Did you watch it? What did you think? Drop a comment in the notes below. If you enjoyed this show, don't forget to like and subscribe, and check out all the channels on the Voice of College Football Network. You can actually catch Mac and I on the Big Ten Team Rivalry channel right here on YouTube. That's going to do it for us. Mac, take us out.
This is the voice of college football.